Well Together podcast. Welcome to Well Together podcast. In each episode, inspiring conversations from wellness experts will guide you towards a better life. If you are ready, let's start our healthy life journey. In this episode,
Well Together expert Philip Chia is talking about men's health after 35, how to boost testosterone and improve performance naturally.
First of all, welcome to the listeners of Well Together podcast. This is Dr. Phil. I am the medical consultant here at TheLifeCo Phuket in Thailand. Now, first things first is that why 35? A lot of us would actually feel the benefits of youth prior to 35, meaning to say that when we were younger, when we are less than 35, we can abuse our bodies, we can do a lot of things, and it only takes a few hours of rest or probably an overnight sleep and everything would be recharged again. So I always say that if we do not take care of ourselves before that fork in the road, and that fork in the road is when we hit 35 years of age, regardless whether we're men or women, we need to be able to take care of ourselves before we reach 35. 35 is that turning point whether or not we are still able to retain, I call it a superpower. We all have superpowers when we're younger. But by 35, if we don't take good care of our superpowers, it will be lost. And when that's lost, it might be a bit more difficult for us to regain this superpower once again. So, if we want to focus our topic on how to maintain men's health when we reach 35, then I would suggest looking into your environment first. Mostly, it is the environmental stressors or things that we are exposed to on a regular basis that would have a very strong impact on how we would be able to retain our superpower, which is youth. So if we're exposed to a lot of chemicals, if we're exposed to a lot of pollution, if we're exposed to a lot of things that cause a lot of stress to us on a daily basis, all these things added together can and will make our superpower grow less. If we want to retain the superpower before we reach 35, we have to, number one, assess the environment that we are and interacting with on a daily basis, see whether it's toxic to us or not, whether or not it's causing a lot of distress for us as well. And if it is, it would be best for us to change the environment or find a way to mitigate the effects of these environmental toxins that would and will affect our youth. So one thing that I like about what TheLifeCo is able to offer is that any place, any branch of a TheLifeCo that you would actually visit, you would have that complete change of environment. If you're used to living in the city, if you're used to living in a very toxic environment, TheLifeCo offers that change of scenery. And that is usually a good first step for everyone to experience if they want to go for a reset, if they want to go for that reboot in order for us to reclaim our superpower. I would say a change of scenery is always a good starting point for that. If and when we are constantly existing in a space when there is a lot of stress, a lot of factors that would cause you to be in a state of stress or high levels of stress, that can invariably let our body physiologically produce a hormone called cortisol. cortisol is known as the stress hormone. And when it comes to men's health, if cortisol levels are not controlled properly, meaning to say they go way too high because you're dealing with a lot of stress, deadlines, work stress, school-related stress, relationship-related stress, whatever stress it is, that would cause our stress hormones to go higher. And what does that correspond to men's health? When cortisol levels are higher, it will affect the way testosterone levels are being produced. And when we talk about men's health, the only feasible topic there is to talk about would most likely be testosterone. That is the only hormone that would make or break how well a man is able to perform, how well his mind focus is, mental abilities related to testosterone, how well his muscles are able to develop related to testosterone, how well his bones will be holding on to his structure related to testosterone again, how well he's able to function in bed, sexually, physically, his confidence, they're all related to testosterone levels. So unfortunately, if men nowadays would be going through a lot of stressful situation, you'd always find men complaining about, oh, I don't get mental focus that I had before. I don't feel as confident as I was before. I don't feel as strong. I don't perform well in bed. And there are all these concerns that men would usually complain about, and that would be related to either a lack of testosterone or there's way too much stress that that person is going through. So going back to what I was saying earlier, if there is certain symptoms that you are identifying with, maybe the first step would be to change your environment. See whether or not that would bring down a significant amount of stress on your end, and whether or not your body would be able to comply with that change. Then we'll have to wait and see. Now, when people come to the TheLifeCo, what I always would tell them is take your time. Let them take in the environment. Let everyone take in the environment and look into the small things. Sometimes when we are too stressed, we forget to pay attention to the little things. And usually it's the little things that matter. So I would always say, let go of everything. You're in a safe environment. You're in a natural environment. That's another thing that is and will affect the way our health and wellness would become as we age. We forget that we are part of nature. We always believe that we are better than nature. We do new things. We do new innovations, inventions for convenience sake, but then we forget that we are part of nature. So the more we detach ourselves from Mother Nature, the easier for us to actually fall ill to the effects of environment, to the effects of aging. So when people set foot into the TheLifeCo, that is one thing that would create that significant transformation. The environment itself is a very good trigger for you to remember that, hey, we should remember to appreciate nature. We should remember that we must interact with the actual soil, with the sea, with the sand, with clean air. And that would actually be a very good start. Okay, so next thing that we also encourage everyone to do if we want to maintain health and wellness is to have good diet and exercise. That would always be the first recommendation that's actually being taught in medical school for whatever lifestyle related issues or medical conditions there are. The first line of therapy or the first line of treatment would always be lifestyle modification in the form of diet and exercise. But the problem with medical school is that they never taught us how to change the diet, how to exercise. So that's one thing that you get to learn when you get to the TheLifeCo. We are a raw vegan facility. So that in itself would probably be at the top of the list when you talk about good diet, because a lot of the things that is made available to us nowadays when we talk about food would all be GMO related, genetically modified organisms. Animals that have been put in farms, animals that have been kept in captivity, animals that have been injected with hormones, injected with chemicals, injected with antibiotics and whatnot. So when we have these types of diet, we would also interfere with the way our health and wellness would actually be projected. So if we want to keep ourselves healthier and stronger, a good strategy is to look into a raw vegan diet, or at least improve the amount of vegetables, nuts, seeds, fruits that you have in your diet. Because nowadays, if you look at typical meals, most of them would contain very bad carbohydrates, rice, noodles, gluten, etc., and lots of meat. So if we want to stay away from diseases, if you want to maintain good testosterone levels, if you want to maintain healthier profile for your own health and wellness, it would be very important to focus on a healthier type of a diet. So, like I said, if we were to consider what food choices would be the healthiest, the most nutritious, hands down, I would still say it would be raw vegan diet. So that is what TheLifeCo is able to offer to our guests. So when you step foot to any TheLifeCo branches, actually, you would be able to be exposed to a lot of these general categories of procedures or protocols that you would be able to go for and learn from, so that when you go home, the best thing to do is to apply as much as you can into your lifestyle. I always say to the guests here is, it's not what you do that's important here. It's what you learn and what you bring home and what you apply when you go home. So that's what I always tell them. I said, yeah, you can stay here for a couple of weeks, you can stay here for a month, but if you don't learn anything from that stay and you don't apply anything that you learn from here when you go back home, then it's all for naught. If and when you get a chance to visit a place like TheLifeCo, learn as much as you can. Appreciate as much as you can. Appreciate the little things. Focus on yourself and eliminate as much stress from your body as much as possible. Participate in activities, physical activities that would encourage your body to keep moving. We will not lose it if we use it. That's another thing that I always like to say. A lot of people will say, oh, I used to be able to do this, I used to be able to do this, but now I cannot because I'm busy with work, etc., etc. But the human body is a creature of habit. If we start to develop a healthy, good habit for us to continually do every single time, you would be able to reap the benefits out of that. But if you start to say, oh, I'd like to just sit down, lie down on my couch, eat my chips, have my snacks, watch Netflix all throughout the day, and that would become your habit. It is a bad habit that your body would adapt into and eventually cause a lot of problems for us in the future. So what I'm trying to drive at is that, yes, if you want to maintain good health, if you want to promote better health and wellness moving forward, start as early as you can. But I never said that it's too late if you've gone past 35. So what can we do when we go past 35 and you've somehow abused your body a little bit and then wanted to regain this superpower that we were talking about? Don't despair. Of course, trying to evaluate your surroundings first, check whether or not your environment is causing a lot of stress for you. Change your diet as much as possible or change to a healthier routine. Start walking, hire a personal trainer, get into a certain activity that you can sustain for long periods of time. And then eventually, you might need to consider checking your hormone levels. Most of the time, when we talk about wanting to maintain good health or wanting to become healthier, especially when it comes to men, we would be focused on how your testosterone levels are doing. But when you check hormone levels, it's not just zeroing in on just testosterone alone. So there are other parameters that need to be checked as well. Things like your sex hormone binding globulin, your estrogen levels, your DHEA levels, your cortisol levels, because all these things will and can influence or interfere the amount of hormone, or in this case, the amount of testosterone that would be made available to us. We need to be able to know whether or not your testosterone is being converted to estrogen. We need to know whether or not your estrogen or your testosterone is being bound to a protein called the sex hormone binding globulin. So despite the fact that you have good levels of testosterone, a lot of them are not being made available to you because they're bound to that protein. So when we have these types of hormone levels checked or these parameters checked, we would be able to know, oh, you would be able to improve on your performance, improve on your expectations of what testosterone would be able to do for you when you would be able to see the circumstances behind, okay? So if it's just literally a lack of testosterone production because of aging, because of things that we are exposed to, chemicals, etc., there are natural boosters for this. And one of the most common example for this would be an herb commonly known as long jack, or in Asia, it's more commonly known as tongkat ali. So tongkat ali would be a natural testosterone booster. It's an herb, it's a root that you can take on a regular basis and see whether or not your body would be able to respond to its benefits or effects. Other herbs, natural herbs or natural remedies that would be in this category would be ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a very well-known Ayurvedic herb that is very helpful in controlling cortisol levels. So if you are going through a lot of stress, to say that your cortisol levels might shoot very, very high, and as I mentioned earlier, high cortisol levels may influence your testosterone levels to go lower. So if you are in danger of having too much stress in your environment, in your life in general, ashwagandha as an herb might be a very good way to mellow down the effects of cortisol so that it may not interfere with your testosterone production. Next is a possibility of too much sex hormone binding globulin, that protein that would bind to your testosterone and not make it available for you to use. A good natural way to overcome this is through the use of nettle root. So nettles are regular plants, trees with nettle fruits or nettle crops that they produce. These can be picked and ground as powder or nettle root extract. And these extracts or powder form would be able to help minimize the sex hormone binding globulin so that it would make your body make use of your testosterone more readily. Last but not the least, if we're talking about a lot of your testosterone being forced to transform into the female hormone called estrogen, a very good way or natural way to reverse that is through the use of cruciferous vegetables or a natural organic supplement called chrycine. It's a good liver cleanser as well, but it's also a very good way to help minimize the conversion of your precious testosterone into estrogen. So all in all these strategies or approaches, as I've said, you would be able to learn, you would be able to be given this type of an information here at the TheLifeCo. It is how you take this information and how you apply it to real life. But when you're looking out for better health, better wellness, take that first step, right? Take that first step. Realize that you are in an environment that's not really that ideal to promote better health and wellness, and start doing something about it. So thank you for joining us today at Well Together Podcast. This is Dr. Phil, and I hope you stay tuned for more episodes next time.
Well Together Podcast. Inspiring stories from the TheLifeCo.
Let's listen to Callum Best. He was one of our guests, and he shares that his stay at the TheLifeCo made his desire to find a place that could provide him with spiritual and physical cleansing come true.
Hi everyone, Callum Best here. I'm very grateful and it's a pleasure to be here. TheLifeCo is very unique, very healing, very spiritual, very what I needed. My main motivation for coming here was a little spiritual cleanse. What it is over the years is that I've been very blessed and lucky to go to different fitness retreats, but this one is unique in the way that it starts from the inside. You know, it's a gut cleanse. It's a cleanse from the inside out, and I like that idea. We're salads, we're juices, we're colonics, we're oxygen chambers, we're IV drips. There's all sorts of different things here that you wouldn't find at other places, and I think that they're very unique and very needed in the way that a lot of us need that cleanse and we don't often get it. So I'm super grateful to be here. I think if you can come here and tune in to bettering yourself, there's nothing smarter you can do in this world. If you invest in yourself, you will live a happier and healthier life. So I'm here to invest in myself. I'm here to cleanse myself, and it's not easy. It's challenging. You get moody, you get hungry, but overall, I'm on day 6 today, and I feel the best I've felt in a long time. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for this experience, and I highly recommend it. So if TheLifeCo will have me, I will be back because I feel vibrant, fresh, happier, healthier. Running 5K every morning, training. My gut feels better. I'm sweating out toxins that I've built up over years. So love the experience. Cheers, TheLifeCo.
Well Together Podcast.
Are you ready to create the best version of yourself? Your transformation journey starts at the TheLifeCo. With over 18 years of experience, the TheLifeCo Wellbeing is committed to helping you achieve optimal health and well-being with a unique range of programs and retreats. Holistic well-being experiences that promote longevity and meaning in your life await you at the TheLifeCo centers in Bodrum, Antalya, and Phuket. Visit thelifeco.com today to start your wellness journey.
Next episode of the Well Together Podcast.
Stress management. Essentials of understanding and preventing chronic stress.
Thank you for listening Well Together Podcast.